Come on, come here, bud. Come on. You freaky dog. I don't need to analyze every word that comes out is a lie. Make it look like you're so ice, ice, ice. You won't make it to the finish line. Now if you gotta know the truth, was gonna let you go. You was fine, never mind, unpredictable. Peter, if the bomb, you ain't know him. You a star, but we act like supernova. In the nighttime, hit my hotline. Sharing secrets, you was really whisper your life. Basic bullets, get them bullets. Does your wife, you know you're begging for my notice?
So I'm just gonna be away for 1 hour. Please don't break anything. And I might have a surprise for you.
Give me a miracle.
Alright, the next two things that need to go into the car before it goes off to paint and body is I need to modify and install the second gen rear bumper. I have the rear spats that go with it, and also need to put the pieces of the wide body onto it. I'm also cutting this centerpiece off so it makes it nice and flat on it. I also need to put on these hood latches. Should be just a little template I put on the hood, line it up with a pin, and then actually cut a hole in the hood so these will sit flush right about there. To my knowledge, the rear bumper on this car has never been off, so the bolts are probably nice and seized, so they're going to need a soak in PB Blast. Every other panel on this car has been kind of a pain in the butt to get them loose, but I'm sure if I just take my time, it won't be that difficult to do. To remove the bumper, there's a row of 10 millimeters that run underneath the tail light. There's also a few bolts right here and then here that connect into the fender, and a few underneath the car. It's not exactly hard to get to, it's just gonna be a little bit time consuming if the bolts do not want to come free. So the first thing I need to do is remove the tail lights and the center garnish. This row of 10 millimeters should be the easiest ones to get to, so let's go ahead and knock those out first. That one's moving. That one is. That one's a little tight. And that one's moving pretty good. The reason I'm not using a power tool on these is because if I were to hit these with the power tool, it would break the bolt instantly, but thankfully, and this is exactly why I keep a surplus of PB Blast. And just to be safe, we're just going to give every one of them, even if they're loose or not, a good squirt. Alright, the next two are way back in here. They won't be too hard to reach. Those are easy enough. And now to do the same thing on this side. So the next two bolts are hidden behind this module. That is my suspension control module. I no longer have that in the car, so that can come out. The the next 5 are right here. 1, 2, and 3 on the outside. And then there's 2 about here and here that go up. They should be a little bit more difficult to reach. And they too are just as seized up as everything else. So they will also get a little blast. And while I'm at it, these 5 are going to get sprayed as well. Okay, the 2 bolts that are right here that go up into this fender are a little hard to reach, but as long as you have a long enough extension, they're not too bad. And the last ones to come off are 5 in the center, and they are plastic screws just right underneath. Okay, that should be all the bolts holding this thing on. I believe it's 34 in total. I was able to take my time and use a lot of PB Blast on these bolts and the ones around, and I was able to get them all out without breaking a single one. What I will do is I will chase each one of these holes with a threaded tap so that way I can clean it up before I put the new hardware back in. So fingers crossed, this just slides right off. And I almost forgot, there's 5 of them actually hidden behind the license plate. Okay, now with a little luck, it should just slide right off. There we go. And boy, oh boy, is that thing dirty. Lovely. I would say this is probably the first time in 30 years this bumper has been off the car. That is gross. Alright, I got a fair amount of it cleaned up with soap and water here inside the garage, but I'm definitely going to have to take it outside later and hit it with a pressure washer when it's not an absolute hurricane going on outside. Alright, let's test fit the new bumper. I'm definitely enjoying the body lines on this bumper a lot more than that one. Okay, I reinstalled these 2 bolts right here to get the bumper lined back up with the rear quarter panel, so when I go to mount this flare piece, I can get it lined up where it needs to be. The only problem that I ran into with this is the curse of the stealth hit again, and this part right here is making contact right there because this is actually made for a stealth rear bumper. So as you can see the difference where I trimmed out right here to fit around the bumper. I just got to trim out the passenger side to look the same. But with a slight modification, it actually fits pretty good. It'll be a little something like that. All right, one side down, now to the other. Okay, both of the flares are now on. All I need to do is take the bumper back off, put the spats on, and then cut that little middle piece out, and this rear bumper should be completely done to put back on. And we are good to move on to the hood. Alright, as for these rear spats, you just line them up on the bumper. I'm going to use a stainless steel screw. And that's it. Just put the other two screws in and you should be done. Okay, the last thing I need to do is just chop off this centerpiece, and I'm going to do that with this air saw. Yeet. Alright, let's put it on and see how it looks. I definitely think cutting out that centerpiece gives it a way more aggressive look. Oh yeah. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, all I need to do now is just clean up all those bolt holes with the tap, and then it's on to putting in the hood latches.
Alright, I'm getting ready to make the marks and then cut the holes in the hood for the latches, but before I do that, I want to make sure this hood is 100% where it needs to be when it's closed, that it lines up properly with the front bumper and fenders, there's no weird gaps. So I did put the front bumper back on it temporarily. I did have to remove the intercooler because it is making some contact with it currently, and I don't want to cut that bumper out just yet to make it fit. So while I'm at that, I'm going ahead and making that sit exactly where it needs to be on the radiator support, because for the longest time it's just been in there with like 2 bolts and been kind of cockeyed. It's been driving me crazy. To get the intercooler where it needs to be, there's about 1.5 inch gap between the top of the intercooler and the bottom of the radiator support. So that was an easy fix with getting these aluminum little spacers that I made. Basically, it's going to add the height that I needed. The only downside was I did not have a long enough M8 bolt to go from here to up here with that distance. So what I ended up having to do, you kind of see it right here, I was able to thread a bolt in, cut the head off, and then on this side I screwed in my extension with threads on top so they can actually be bolted right into that. And to achieve that, I'm using an M8 tap and die set. And basically it's just as simple as lubing up your hole, then threading this in until you reach the bottom where you haven't cut your new threads yet. You'll feel a little resistance right about there. I'm just going to make a couple turns. Just try not to either snap the bit off inside or break anything here. And just work it back out. And slowly but surely this will cut the threads into my metal. Clean off the little burrs and then just keep repeating the process. In and out, in and out. Until you make it all the way through. Just going to apply a little bit of red Loctite on my threads. Alright, that's locked on there pretty good. But what I'm going to do here to make sure I drill the holes properly in the radiator support, I'll put the screw there, and I'll have a screw over there. And I'm going to just take a little dab of silicone. Right in the middle. Right in the middle. So I'm going to place the intercooler where it needs to go. Make sure it's center. So I have 2 junkyard scissor jacks holding this up, and what I'm going to do is slowly turn them at the same time until they make contact. Boop, like that. And like that. Now I lower it down. I know exactly where I need to drill. The intercooler is definitely fitting a lot better in there without hitting the bumper anymore. I like it. Well, it's safe to say that I went ahead and decided to modify the hood to fit over the bubble headlights anyway. Making one hell of a mess.
There you go. You already know. Y'all to Trinity, we still the same ones. When it come to chats, we don't take no shit. Bad man Jamaica. Trinity global sensation. Mob it till the day come, yeah, till the day come. Red, white, black flag, daddy gon' shake some. Green, yellow, black flag, blue, yeah, shake some. We don't want no drama in this, so don't make none. Mob it till the day come, yeah, till the day come. And the day came, still thumbing through the night, chance of light rain. I guess I really gotta show you about this Trinity Kang. I guess this is how it is when you from the island, man. So I took a flight to Tobago, FOG down. Man's on the ends, Londonville to the C-town. Remo with a steamer and a beamer with the T down. And she wanna know me, tell me, baby, what you need now? A little buddy. Bubble up your pop, mix the curry, go dummy. Whole fam, ice on no funny. From the Ville to the Ville, shout out Teddy, that's the Tuggy. Still the same ones. When it come to chats, we don't take none. Shit, bad man Jamaica. Trinity global sensation. Mob until the day come, yeah, till the day come. Red, white, black flag, daddy gon' shake some. Green, yellow, black flag, rule, gal, shake some. We don't want no drama in this, so don't make none. Mob until the day come, yeah, until the day come.
Say they want smoke, when we see them, they don't say none. Yeah, they all talk on them stories, they be made up. Really putting work on them nights.
Alright, that fitment's coming along great. There used to be about a whole inch gap right here. I can even adjust that bumper up some. But now we are sitting nice and flush with the headlights. I've made one hell of a mess.
Beer gun, money, now your rear
Still
view.
the same ones. When it come to chats, we don't take none. Bad man Jamaica. Trinity global sensation. Mob it till the day come, yeah, till the day come. Red, white, black flag, daddy gon' shake some. Green, yellow, black flag, rule, gal, shake some. We don't want no drama in this, so don't make none. Mob it till the day come, yeah, till the day come.
Alright, I just quickly cleaned off the fiberglass dust from the hood and bumper, but this will give you a good first look on how everything is tying together with the way the hood meets the headlights and the around the fenders and bumper. I did have to recess the headlights just a little bit and sand to get a nice clean flush fit, but I will have to say I couldn't be any happier in how well this is all coming together. Alright, for the hood latch, we have the main latch itself, the hood pins, hardware, and then the backer plate. So this is what holds the hood latch to the hood from the bottom side, and you can also use this as a template on how to cut your hole perfectly for the latch itself. So all we really need to do is to figure out where to put the pins where they line up with the bottom of the hood, and then the latch can sit on top. Make sure that it is clear from obstacles on the bottom side and obstacles from the top side. You wouldn't want to mount this one like right here and then end up finding out that after you drill the hole it's in this non-level area, which right here seems to be the best place for the latch itself, right about there, which lines up right there. Something like that. Blop. Alright, I have both pins just loosely sitting in there right now. So all I need to do is just put a little silicone on top of each one, lower the hood down, and find out where it makes the mark on the bottom of the hood. So the holes to drill are going to be right there and right there. Couldn't be any easier. So all I need to do now is just drill a small hole from the bottom out through the top, trying to keep this as level with the top of the hood as possible. You only need a small drill bit because all this is doing is giving you an idea on where the hole is going to come out on the top side so you can make your template for the latch. One. Two. Take the hood pins back out, and now we can shut the hood and make measurements to make sure that both of these holes are evenly placed on either side of the hood, so that way one's not higher or lower than the other one. That wouldn't look too good. Alright, with both holes drilled, all I need to do now is just kind of mask off where those hood pins are going to be. Alright, what I'm going to do now is just measure this hole to like a couple points on the hood and compare it to the one on the other side to make sure that both of these holes are in the exact same spot on both sides, so when I actually cut the hood latch in, they're not off by like ½ inch either direction. It looks a little funky. Alright, not too bad. So from here to here it's 9 1/4, and from here to here it's 7 3/4. And on this side from here to there it's also 9 1/4. So both holes are exactly the same distance back from the hood, but the only difference between this side and that side is from there to there. 7 3/4 is actually right there. So there is a 1/4 inch difference in the placement of this hole and this hole, which is not that big of a deal. So what I'll do is I'm just going to split the difference and do an 1/8 in each side, and that way they'll both be identical placed on either side. Alright, and what I'm going to do here to make sure both of the templates line up level with each other across the hood, I am just going to use a piece of string
and some picks, and that should give me a nice straight line all the way across. Okay, so this black line is my true measurements for level with each other and level front to back. These red lines, what I did was, they're like guide markers, so I did a 1/4 inch off of each one going up and down. All you have to do is just take your bottom plate, which is your template, lay the top latch into it, find where your hole is. When you lift it up, there you go. Now you can line your bolt holes up with the red lines, and that way you know it's square to the car. Trace around the inside and mark your 6 holes, and you're good to cut it out. Alright, like the old saying of measure twice, cut once, I just need to make some measurements off of this template on both sides, make sure that they are equal distance from each other. That should be good to go ahead and cut out these holes, and those latches should drop right in. Alright, I raised the hood up so I don't accidentally drill into anything underneath. The fuse box is located right below this, so let's not poke a hole in that. So as you can see, I drilled through, but I didn't drill all the way through. I let the drill bit go down into the bottom so I know where to drill my holes from the bottom side up. And what I'm going to have to do is on the brace, this goes on the bottom side of the hood latch, I need to drill it just a little bit bigger than the holes on the top, so that way the brace can then pass through and bolt up on the bottom. Oh yeah, like a glove. Just got to cut out the little piece on the very bottom so this will slide all the way through, but that is a perfect fit. Okay, these are my 2 sizes for the bottom side of the hood. Large for the front, small for the back. Just to hold on the brace. Just make sure you don't go all the way through because these are much larger than the holes you drill through the top. One. And 2. Alright, so with the larger hole in the bottom, you can then slide the brace in and something like that. Alright, and here on the top side you got this perfectly drilled hole. Latch fits in there nice and flush and beautiful. So now all you got to do is just slide this up from the bottom side, run the 6 bolts through it, and you're done. Then the last thing you need to do is just dial in how tall that pin needs to be. And you shut it down. Pin will stick through. Pin will stick through just a little bit like that. And it's latched. Easy. Alright, and the other side is completely done. I finished up just in time. The sun has decided to set, so I am now extremely limited on daylight. And this would be a good point for me to just go ahead and pack it up for the night and pick this back up on the next day. But as you can see, the hood latches are good. Alright, I've shortened about 1.5 inches off the bottom of these foot pins, and I sandblasted the red off them, so now they're just silver. I really wasn't a fan of that. I believe it was like an anodized red, but the silver will look a lot better. There we go. The hood latches are completely done. Both pins have been cut, sandblasted, and bolted in their correct place. All you have to do is just pop it on one side, pop it on the other side. That releases the pins. There's 1 and 2. And it's as easy as when you go to shut it, the pin will slip into place. As easy as that. All there's really left to do is to put the intercooler pipe back on, bolt the front bumper down, and I should be good to take the car out on a test drive. This is a big moment for me. I have not seen the entire body of this car put together in many years. Even on my very first video, I didn't have the front bumper on the car because it wouldn't go over the intercooler without having to cut it. Other than all the different body panels being different colors right now, they are all on the car for the first time in, I don't know, probably 5 years. So let's go ahead and close this. It has been quite a journey getting here so far, but it has finally come.
One downside to all the sanding is this fiberglass dust will now live in every crevice of the garage. It is all over the car. I shouldn't even blow the car off when I take it on this test drive, so as I'm going down the road, it's just this big cloud of gray dust flying behind me. Whew. All right, I guess all that's left to do is just pull it out, dust it off, and we can take it on a run. It may be dirty, but it is complete. I am honestly extremely stoked for the way this car has turned out, and I cannot wait to get in the paint shop. I guess I can do it a little justice and blow it off. The car is still really dirty, but it looks good. Finally all together in one piece. I can definitely say I really like the cutout on this rear second gen bumper. It's a little hard to see with it being black, but it definitely adds to the flow between the exhaust pipes. Well, I went on about a 10-mile ride and everything held up. Nothing broke or fell off the car. So I believe it has survived the shakedown test. This should be the last step before the car goes off to get painted. That should be in the next week or two. The guy that's painting the car is currently on vacation, but he is going to be back here shortly. And as I mentioned before, if you have any suggestions on a color that I should paint the car, please leave them in the comment section below, because I am still completely undecided. I'd like to give a shout out to all the manufacturers who have parts on this car. GTOKNG for the hood, Retrospect for the wide body flares and the lip kit. We have Aaref for the 99 wing, Twin Z for the roof spoiler. And of course, myself for supplying the parts car stuff. But all in all the pieces together form a very aggressive looking car. Everything just ties together so well, and it completes the look that I was going for, and I could not be any happier. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see where this car goes next, and as always, thanks for watching.
I'm not in the palace.